Hey everyone, welcome to MT Guitar. Today I want to show you 10 riffs. And these 10 riffs, you'll probably recognize most or all of them, can be looked at through the lens of where are these riffs coming from. We're going to learn these 10 riffs and we're going to understand where they come from. You know, if there's a phrase in a language, you'd want to learn the alphabet of that language. So a scale to me is similar to an alphabet. It's just a collection of notes, right? A lot of people learn this G major scale. And then you might recognize this riff, right? Okay, so here's a great example. The first riff is Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Happens to be the first song I learned. Play the G major pentatonic scale. All right. Up, all the way. Now, with a hammer on and a certain rhythm, I come up with Wish You Were Here. Then I strum an E minor chord here. Then I go down from the G to a D note. So we can see that Wish You Were Here now is existing in the G major pentatonic scale. The solo obviously is using all sorts of fancy stuff, right? Well, not really. David Gilmour is using the G major pentatonic as a source material for his solo as well. Here's the first position of major pentatonic, right? Coming from this E shape. Slides into it. Then he goes back to open. Right? So that's all open. Even here, that's all G major pentatonic. Okay? So you learn G major pentatonic, both positions. Now as you play the solo and the intro riff, you can understand where that solo and that riff is coming from. Number 2 would be Layla. Here's the electric version. Right? Okay. Now we ask, well, what scale is this coming from? Well, I've already mentioned it, right? D minor pentatonic. So now we'd learn D minor open pentatonic. Kind of play around with it a little bit, go up and down, try different rhythms, try different techniques like hammer-ons, pull-offs, vibrato, little bends and stuff. Then as I play this riff, I see, oh, well, yeah, that's just surrounding this D note here. Here's the D, hammer up to it, 5 to flat 7, 1 to flat 3, slur, flat 7, 1. Then I see that this is the same thing, up 2 octaves, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, same thing, flat 7, 1. But it's in now position 1 of D minor pentatonic. Bend to the 4. Here's the 2, so we don't see the 2 in the minor pentatonic. And that's because Clapton's addressing the flat 7 chord. There's a C triad right there. See? So, now we can understand why are people straying from the pentatonic. It's often to address other chord tones, right? And we just need to know 3 chord tones to get a good start on that. So that would be the third of C. Here's going to go up to the 5, 4, again, 2, flat 7, 1 to address that C chord. All right, so next one is Led Zeppelin. Obviously, this one was a really good one for teaching me hammer-ons and pull-offs, as I'm sure it's been for you. I do have a lesson on most of these songs, by the way, and I'll leave links for those in the description below if you want to learn them more in depth. I'll also throw all this on the Patreon, all 10 of these riffs, and a little bit of reminders and tips about how we're thinking of these scales. So check that out at patreon.com/mtguitar. Big thank you and shout out to all the patrons there. So here we have a great song for G major, right? Open position, 2 octaves. And we're going 1, 2, 1 on the scale degrees, G, A, G. Now 7 to 5, pull off. Now, I'm not thinking about this when I'm playing it, or even necessarily when I'm learning it, transcribing it, or anything. But I am thinking about it when I think, how did this riff come about? That's kind of the point. We want to know how it came about so that we can understand and train our ears so that I can, you know, I can play this anywhere on the neck, right? I've never even done that before, but it's not a big deal because I understand the scale well enough, right? To know that that's 1, 2, 1, 7, 5, 1. So now my ear accepts that as a sound that I can understand. And I can play it anywhere where I know the G major scale. Now, that's a process that might take years, right? And I've been doing it for decades and I'm still getting better at it. Okay, so it's not like you're going to get this done overnight, but this is something you can work towards. The riff keeps going, but I'll leave you with that. When it goes here, it goes to a D chord, but that's actually still in the G major scale. One of the great things about a major scale is it incorporates all the 6 chords that are common in a key. All right, Day Tripper. All right, what's this in? Well, it looks like E, right? E of some sort. So the chords are going to help us to know why these riffs are working in a certain scale. Sometimes with blues, you get major chords and a minor pentatonic. That can be a little tricky to understand. Here, we don't have that problem. We have a major scale of some sort, right? With some minor notes as well. If you have some minor notes in a major scale, the first scale you're going to want to think of probably is Mixolydian. And that's a very good bluesy scale as well as like rock and roll. So we have right away, if I just take out this blues note, this flat 3 is a blues note, and I play these other notes of the riff, I have an E7 arpeggio. Okay? Now I add the blues note in. Okay? And then the rest of the riff. So let's analyze that. That would be E7 arpeggio. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1. Those are the notes that are being played in the beginning of the riff. Blues note, so that's a flat 3 to the 3. Really good thing to get that down. And you can add it to your scale. In this case, just an arpeggio. Now because we're hitting the 9 there, we're getting a note outside of that first bass octave. So we have basically Mixolydian with a blues note. Alright. She's a good teaser. So now if I learn Mixolydian in every spot, I can put it in my vocabulary, right? It's become part of my understanding of how Mixolydian works. I'm starting with the chord tones, flat 3 to 3, and then the rest of the arpeggio, chord tones, right? Now I have to go up to a new position to get that 9 or that 2. Although I could do it here as well. Right? So I have sort of incorporated it into my understanding of music. Now this one is less of a riff in terms of single notes, but I still want to play it because I love it so much. I'm going to put down my pick for this one. It would be blasphemy to not to play this with your fingers. Okay? Right? Perhaps James Taylor's biggest hit, Fire and Rain. Okay? So, all right, I'm going to be in the key of A. Again, not using a capo right now. And I'm going to be sliding up to an A triad. This is an A triad here, first inversion. Now, this is also coming from either a pentatonic or just a major scale. Either way you want to look at it. But it's the E shape of A. And here's a triad, and James is sliding up from the 2 to the 3, or B to C sharp, if you will. And then hitting that high 1, 5, and 3. Okay? Very nice. Almost the pentatonic scale right there. Now, same thing down a whole step, over an E. This is pretty much E minor pentatonic or G major pentatonic. Right? You can see it right there. He's got an E bass. If you think of that as an E, it's also kind of a G triad over an E minor, either way. Okay? So, that is same thing, right? 3, 1, 5, 3 of G over that E, I'm sorry. Now a D chord, but we have a melody. That first string goes like that into the A chord. So that's just 5 to 6 of A. If I have the A major pentatonic, which is what we started with up here, sorry, we have these open strings, which is partially why these hammer-ons and pull-offs in the JT style work so well, is because open strings are often in the key that we're in anyway, right? So for the key of A, we can do these nice hammer-ons to here, and we're in the key of A major. Now he's going to go sus. So that's, again, A major. So now I can add that A riff into my own playing whenever I feel like it. E major, just sort of arpeggiating the chord now at G major 7. This one's a little harder to analyze because the G is not in the key, but he's going to go to that G chord anyway. All right, next one would be Money, Pink Floyd. Now this is, we first hear this on the bass, right? But everyone would agree this is the main riff of Money. So here we have B minor pentatonic. We're in the key of B minor. So I would review my B minor, pentatonic, and then I do an arpeggio here. So 1, and then another octave of the B. That's another 1, 5, 1. Now he's going to go down to a low 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 1. Okay? And it's in a groovy 7/4 time signature. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the first song on the list I haven't taught yet. It's coming, don't worry. Maybe not in the next short span of time, but it will come at some point. Now, even when it changes chords, the pentatonic scale just shifts down. So when it goes to F sharp minor, right? So he goes to F sharp minor, same stuff basically as the B, just down a string. Now E minor, basically E minor pentatonic again. Back to B. All right. Purple Haze. What's this? Feels weird playing it with an acoustic, but I just want to keep it simple on one guitar today. But here, that's a really well constructed riff there from this position, what is it, position 3 of E minor pentatonic, the A minor shape as I would think of it. And I'm going to go slide up to the 5, flat 7, flat 3, 4. But see how it's existing here. Just played in a very creative way. Now he goes down a position, and it's going to be flat 3, flat 7, 1, hammer to the 1. Okay? This is just more in that position. Here's like the little pentatonic box. Up to the higher position. Okay? So, we know the E minor pentatonic. We all learn it probably pretty early on. Now we can make music with it and understand these riffs and where they're coming from. All right, speaking of E minor pentatonic. Beat It, right? All right, so Beat It, famously played by Steve Lukather from Toto. And here we have just a straight E minor arpeggio. Played in a creative way, right? 1, flat 3, 5, which is the 3 notes of the E minor chord. Now a high flat 3 and 1. What's this though? Well, the chord's changing, right? To a D chord. So Steve's going to go to the 3rd of D. Here's a D chord. We can switch to D major pentatonic if that helps us, right? Or just a D arpeggio to know what notes are going to work over that chord really well. And one of those notes is a 3 and a 1. Okay, so E minor, arpeggio, D, sort of a D major pentatonic riff, or it's really still an E minor, of course. There's the 2, flat 7. So you can think of it as still an E minor, or we're switching to the D chord. Both are accurate. All right, 2 more to go. We have Gypsy by Fleetwood Mac. Key of D. Let's just forget about the capo now. It would be in the key of D with the capo on. Now, very simple lead part here by Lindsey Buckingham. Da, da. So what's happening there? Well, the chords are going G to A, but Buckingham is just going to stay in D major pentatonic. Here is a nice little position 5 of major pentatonic, or the G shape. Okay, however you want to think of it. But we're going to start high on this 3 and just go up and down. And then repeat. So, pentatonic, very useful scale for understanding riffs and being able to train your ear with them so you know how to use them, how to play them, and where they're coming from. All right, last one, Led Zeppelin. We have Black Dog from Led Zeppelin. We're going to add in a passing note. So here's A minor pentatonic, position 1, great, classic. Now we're going to add in the natural 7, and then 1. Back on our way. Just classic, first position, right? The position that most of us learn right away. But now I can understand it. It's 5 climbing up to 1. Now back to 5, flat 3, 1. Right? We talk about these arpeggio and chord tones, so important. Now he's going to, even here, we're using the 4, but straight to the 5. Flat 3, 4, 3. So always the chord tones are so important. These are all chord tones right there. Then a little bit of a pattern going down, like a sequence. Okay? So, it then goes to E minor. Same thing. I've yet to teach this one, but I'd like to soon. So, there you go. That would be all 10 riffs showing us where these scales are coming from. Now, when you play these riffs, you can refresh the scale and know, I have a vocabulary that's building. The scale is just the beginning. It's just the outer sort of shell of what's possible. And then if we make things in a rhythmic, groovy, fun, creative way with a little bit of expression and technique and whatnot, we can create music out of it. Hope this makes sense. This was a fun chance to also learn a bunch of fun riffs and add them to your playing and your vocab. Go ahead and subscribe if I haven't mentioned that already. Check out the Patreon. Hope we're doing well. Looking forward to seeing you next lesson. Bye.